Let's talk about elections. We're all aware of the issues today surrounding elections. Ballots being forged or discarded, dead people voting. But PV has discovered something quite new in a recent memo that you've obtained from an FBI whistleblower. And the FBI itself calls that memo a cheat sheet. That's what they refer as a cheat sheet. The FBI has defined a new category of what it considers to be election crime. Tell us about that memo and tell us about that new category of activities that they are going to consider to be crimes now.
Yeah, this is one of a number of things that have been leaked to us by the people inside the FBI. So let me just take a step back because I think it's important to go over the totality of this. After the FBI raid, individuals came to us from the federal government that were upset about what happened to us, including one individual who I interviewed in the shadows. And this individual told me that there was the Department of Justice was engaged in political prosecutions and was become weaponized. This individual had other individuals that they were talking to. One of those individuals passed along a memo from FBI computer systems. And this was, again, remember how I told you earlier in this interview that the federal government, the U.S. attorneys, the prosecutors said I wasn't a journalist, yes. I wasn't news media?
Right.
Well, this internal computer document, I wouldn't call it classified, but it was certainly restricted, referred to Project Veritas as news media.
Ah, beautiful.
What an amazing development.
Beautiful.
We filed that with a federal judge and said, hello, you said in court that we weren't news media, but according to your internal computer systems, and that individual shared that. So what happened then was we got these different documents. It almost looks like it's written not by the FBI. And in one of these documents, we just released a story, I believe this week. It talks about misinformation, and it's like a cheat sheet. By the way, there's spelling errors in this document. That almost led me to believe it wasn't authentic, but then I was able to authenticate it. They're not setting their best at the Bureau. And they're talking about they're going after people if they're engaged in misinformation. There are extremists that they look out for at the polls. And you have to be careful of extremists at polling locations. In another memo that was released in the last few months, if you have the Gadsden flag, that's the "Don't Tread on Me" flag,
Yes.
You are a violent extremist. Ted Cruz brought this up. If you're wearing certain cowboy boots. I mean, this is crazy stuff.
Basically, they're trying to identify conservatives or Republicans.
And most of these things are not extremists.
Right, but they are because didn't Biden say, that we are filled with extremists? In a recent speech, he talked about that, where the background was black and red.
That was looked like
something
coloring
out
of Stalin or something like that.
Stalin or
like
even
demonic,
the Third Reich.
Demonic coloring.
Right.
It was not the best
and the
coloring.
Two guards in the background.
So
essentially, does the
memos.
memo say something about misleading political information? Whoever generated that is an extremist or something like that?
Yes, it insinuates that. There's also another thing about the Betsy Ross flag. These are not extremist things. These are
historical things.
These are Americana things, and I think that based upon what this whistleblower told me. You think of the rank and file FBI. I asked him, what's going on? Is this everyone? And he said it was leadership mostly. Yeah. He said something that was extraordinary, Dr. Bob, which upset some people, and they didn't like the analogy, but I'm going to repeat what he said. He said, at the Bureau, when these agents are hired, and this may have been a decade or two ago when this person was hired, they take you to the Holocaust Museum. They take you to the Martin Luther King Museum. They remind you of the fine line that separates where we are from bad things, that history can turn on a dime. And he said, people are following their paycheck at the Bureau and they're following their pension.
Right.
It's the pension and the paycheck. And they'll do anything to keep that pension, that paycheck. But then he goes, the paycheck and the pension lead to the Holocaust.
Yep, that's right. That's
so
right.
This person is very brave.
And this is an FBI individual.
Still paid by the FBI.
Right. Wow.
And there are more like them out there.
Fantastic.
And as a result of this person coming forward in May, of this year. I did the interview. I will be honest. The FBI raid chilled out a lot of our sources. They were scared, rightfully so, that by messaging me that they were going to get found out and found out by the FBI. But as a result of this brave person's taking this action, finally some more federal whistleblowers have come to Project Veritas. We're still working on those stories, but one of those is quite big. And I can't tell you what agency or where they are, but came to us with information. I can't even talk about it yet, but we'll be breaking that story after the election. And very brave people, Dr. Bob, very brave, courageous souls that are willing to proverbially jump on a grenade and give up their career.
Giving up their career
for the public's right to know.
And they know there's a potential for being found because anything they say is going to be documented someplace on a computer, and then the FBI, the politicized part of the FBI, will get subpoenas to look at those.
Yes. In fact, we have it on good authority that a wrong person was persecuted for having thought to have been the person that was the leaker to me. This is not the first time this has happened. In our investigative work, the powers that be go after the wrong source. They go after they're just desperate to find who done it, who leaked to James O'Keefe. And many commentators thought that the FBI raid itself was the reason for the raid was try to find out who my sources are.
Oh, wow.
And they were using some pretext, the diary. Give me a break. Do you really believe that if this diary belonged to anybody but Ashley Biden, the FBI would be involved
why
in it?
would the FBI be involved in the theft of a diary? Anybody's diary.
It's maybe
right.
A municipal infraction or a state or a county infraction.
Well, you did bring it to the police, didn't you?
We brought it to, this is in Florida. In Delray, Florida. We brought it to the Delray police to make sure it was returned to its rightful owner, whoever that may be.
Right.
I don't know who. I didn't even know if it was a. Right. I was almost certain it was Ashley's, but I wasn't 100% certain.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you set a high standard for the issues that you expose.
Well, imagine if it was a forgery.
Right.
And then someone goes, "Aha, got you!
Yeah.
I set you up."
From then on,
and then people would say O'Keefe's a liar.
Right.
So we have to make sure, listen, the difference between propaganda and journalism is the discipline of verification. We have to verify not only that what we're reporting is real, but that it's not just some person spouting some crap. It actually happened.